Hi everyone, it's Kelly here, and also Xanthi. Welcome to my channel if this is your first time. Welcome back if you've been before. Lovely to have you either way. On this channel we talk books. Today we are filming a very big book haul, but in my defense, I would normally split this book haul into two because a big portion of this, like the biggest part of this book haul, is actually books that I got while I was away on a recent trip. And I have to say, we found a secondhand bookstore that was selling books for $1 a piece. So a lot of these books I paid literally $1 for. You'll understand as we get to it. Xanthi is joining us today, which is why we're a bit wonky here. I didn't want to disturb her. Hopefully she'll be able to happily... She's been there for hours, so we'll see. We'll see if she decides to stay or not. Okay. As I normally do with these book hauls, we start with the books that are brand new, and then we move into our secondhand portion of the video, which is by far the biggest part of this video. But I'm going to have to go a little bit speedy today. Number one, because we've got so many books. Number two, because the battery on my camera is at about 30-something%. Can't see, don't have my glasses on, so I can't tell you exactly how many percent it is, but it's low. So we are going to try and speed run these a little bit. But we're going to start with a book that was gifted to me by my husband's auntie. And she gifted it to me specifically because she was like, this is a book for you and you must have this book. This is a book that you must have. This book is perfect for Kelly. And that is Great Writers and the Cats Who Owned Them by Susannah Fullerton. So she follows Susannah Fullerton. I think she is on her mailing list, her email list. And once she started promoting this book as coming out shortly, she made me go to the bookstore with her cash. And she's like, pre-order this book for yourself. When it gets here, I want you to give it back to me so that I can write in it, which she did. So, and she wrote, Kelly, who dotes on great writers and cats. So that was very sweet. But basically, this book is about, exactly as the title suggests, great writers and their cats. And so she just sort of goes through some of the stories that we have of a lot of the writers of classics, etc., and about their cats. So I'm excited to have this book in my collection and to get to it very soon. I am just realizing, given how many books I've got, I'm going to need to make a stable surface for them to sit on as I go through them. Hopefully this will be okay. Just move a couple of things out of the way. Right, stable surface. We are good. All right, the next book, the next two books actually, I picked up. I recently went to the State Library of New South Wales for an event, and I had a look in their bookstore. It's a really good bookstore and wanted to support it, of course. So I picked two books that were already on my TBR. They were books or on my wish list rather, books I was really interested in that I wanted to get, and I picked them up here. Supporting our bookstores. So the first one is Refugia by Elfie Shiosaki. This is a poetry collection that I was very interested in. She is, I believe, an Aboriginal Australian poet, and I'm very excited to get to this collection at some point soon. It says, burning with rage and love for the Beliar waters which flow through Perth, Refugia is an intense examination of memory and the national narratives which shape our understanding of time and place. So that sounds really great. The other one I picked up, and I've got a little State Library bookmark. I have actually already started flicking through this one, and it is called Revenge of the Librarians, cartoons by Tom Gauld. I had only ever seen this online, so when I saw it there I was like, well, obviously I've got to get it because I don't know that I'm going to see it again in a physical bookstore. So happily picked that one up. It's quite amusing. I'm enjoying flicking through it. Okay, now we move on to some books that I picked up new, and the first one is one that I didn't know existed, but then I heard, who was it? Jasmine McGaughey, I think, on TikTok talking about this book, and I went and sought it out. It's called True Tracks by Terri Janke. I have read a fiction book by Terri Janke many, many years ago now. Does it have the name of it here? It's got a blue butterfly on the front cover. That's what I mainly remember. No, I don't believe it does have a list of other books by this author. But anyway, she's a Torres Strait Islander author, and I remember reading and enjoying her fiction book many years ago now, and Jasmine McGaughey was saying how this is a really important book, and this is all about, so the tagline is respecting Indigenous knowledge and culture, and this is sort of like a guide to working with Aboriginal people, and basically as a non-Indigenous person, and also like for example to do about art, and if you have a project that you're working on and you want to involve Aboriginal people or Torres Strait Islander people, this is apparently like the Bible of that. So I'm excited to have that now in my collection. I don't know if it's one that I would necessarily read cover to cover, but I'm excited to have it. While I was shopping for this one, True Tracks, I also went to have a look and see what else was on sale, and I picked up a copy of Peripathetic Notes on Unbelonging by Cher Tan. This book was longlisted for the Stella Prize this year, and it was one that I was less interested in, I've got to be honest, just from reading the synopsis, but I do try to read the Stella Prize, so I'm hoping that I will get through all of the books that are on this year's long list, and this is one of them, so I now have a copy of it ready to go. And then I also picked up a middle grade book called All the Beautiful Things by Katrina Nannestad. I've read a couple of books by Katrina Nannestad now, and I think she's a lovely middle grade writer, Australian. And this one is set in World War II. It says, Anna's little sister Eva is frail and needs time to learn new things. She has a huge heart and a gift for loving, but Hitler doesn't value such riches. As I said, it's set in World War II. And so she's hidden away, safe for now, but with the threat of discovery always near. Anna does her best to bring joy and light to Eva's small life, but soon more children need hiding. Risks are taken by Anna, by her best friend Udo, by a Nazi seamstress, and a feisty Brunhilde, until Anna wonders if any of them will make it through the war. So it sounds like a moving book, perhaps, but I'm just glad to have another Katrina Nannestad book on my in my collection. Okay, I have one more new book to show you, but it's one that I picked up on my holiday. So just to let you know, flagging, we are now in the holiday haul part of this video. So this was the only new book that I bought while I was away on my trip, and it is A Great Act of Love by Heather Rose. I loved, she wrote a book called The Museum of Modern Love, which was absolutely fantastic. I've also read Bruni by her, which I didn't like as much as I liked The Museum of Modern Love, but this is a historical fiction by her. And I picked it up in a local bookstore on my trip. So this is set in what we now call Tasmania, the island, which is a state of Australia. So it says, Caroline will tell the story of how she came to Tasmania when it was still called Van Diemen's Land many times. She will cast her inventions into the future. Those who carry them on will call it history, but she will call it her life. Van Diemen's Land, 1839. A young woman of means arrives in Hobart with a young boy in her care. Leasing an old cottage next to an abandoned vineyard, Caroline Douglas must navigate an insular colony of exiles and opportunists to create a new life on this island of extreme seasons and wild beauty. But Caroline is carrying a secret of such magnitude it has led her to cross the world, and it will take all she is made of to bring it into the light. Sounds great, and I'm excited to have this. This is a brand new release, and I didn't know that Heather Rose was coming out with a book, so when I saw it I was like, well, obviously. Okay, now we're into the second-hand portion, but still looking at the holiday haul. Now, I have mentioned on this channel before that I went on a trip to the south coast, and there's a bookstore in Nowra on the south coast of New South Wales, the state I live in, that I go to very regularly. It's a great little second-hand bookshop. It has lots of very interesting titles often. But also I follow them online, and if you see a book mentioned and you want to buy it, he'll put it aside for you, pay for it online, and then he puts it aside and you just pick it up the next time you're there. So I had 2 books that I needed to pick up from this store, and while I was there I also bought 2 more using credit that I had from exchanging books. So they also buy books from you for store credit. So the books I had to pick up, so these are ones I'd already paid for, are What I Ate in 1 Year and Related Thoughts by Stanley Tucci. I read Taste by Stanley Tucci, and it was a 5-star read for me at the time, so I was very happy to see this book because I'd sort of had my eye on it, because I loved Taste. It was very, dry wit and so on, and I really enjoyed it. So happy to now have this one ready to read. And the other book that I went to pick up was Dropping the Mask by Noni Hazlehurst, who is an Australian actor who I was first introduced to, along with many of us, on Play School when I was a child, because Noni was one of the presenters on Play School, which is sort of the Australian equivalent of like a Sesame Street-esque kind of show for little kids. But so that's how I know her. But she's obviously also an actor and has been in many, many things. My mum has read this. This is just a memoir of hers. My mum has read it and she loved it, but she read it digitally, so she doesn't have a physical copy to loan me. So when I saw that they had a copy, I picked that one up as well. The other books that I picked up were Poetry by Heart, a treasury of poems to read aloud, and this collection is edited by Julie Blake, Mike Dixon, Andrew Motion and Jean Sprackland, and it's a collection that's put out by Penguin, so happy to have that, because this is specifically poems that are good to read aloud, so that sounded really good to me. And then the other one I picked up was from their non-fiction section, a very old looking book called The Lady Bushranger, The Life of Elizabeth Jessie Hickman by Pat Studdy-Clift. And this, it's actually signed by the author. Let me see how long ago this came out. It came out in 1996, so it's actually not super, super old. They've just made it look old-timey. I mean, 1996 is quite old, but it's not oldie, old. But yeah, this just sounded really interesting, and there's also some photographs and maps and things like that, just the life of a quote-unquote lady bushranger. If you're not familiar with Australian history, bushrangers are kind of like or probably the most famous one is Ned Kelly, if you've heard of him, but basically they're lawbreakers, but in our national kind of consciousness, they're more akin to like a Robin Hood-esque in many cases, but in many other cases, they were just, horrible, like a highwayman, I guess, so you can romanticize that, or you can be like, okay, they're people who are stealing from travellers, and kind of living out in the bush, hence bushrangers. But yeah, this one was a female bushranger, which is uncommon, so I'm interested to learn more about her. Okay, that was all the books I got at, so the bookstore in Nowra is called Anne's, as in Anne of Green Gables, Anne's in Nowra. And now we move into some other secondhand book shopping that we did in the Nowra area. And one of those stores there's a big Salvation Army secondhand store, and I picked up a little stack of these little black spine penguin classics. So the ones that I have are Love That Moves the Sun and Other Stars by Dante. We've got A Modern Detective by Edgar Allan Poe. I've got some stickers that I've got to get off these. The Madness of Cambyses by Heroditus. A Slip Under the Microscope by H.G. Wells. O Cruel Alexis by Virgil. And Tomorrow by Joseph Conrad. So those are the ones that I picked up. Those were $1 each at the big salvos. So happy to have some more of those. I've actually only got one of them on my shelf, which is Leo Tolstoy, The Death of Ivan Ilyich. So happy to have a couple more of them now for my collection. And to read them, of course, obviously. And the other books that I picked up there, so I picked up 2 other classics, which are these lovely, like, leather-bound style. This one needs a bit of a wipe down, but I think I should be able to clean it up. But it's a copy of Pinocchio. That was $2. Beautiful, beautiful edition. And another lovely edition that I picked up, again for $2, was the Just So stories. So happy to have those 2 lovely editions in my collection. And then the other 2 books that I picked up at this same store were Wandering Souls by Cecile Pinn. So this is a book that was nominated, I think, for the Women's Prize, or possibly for the Booker, I can't remember. But this is one that I had been interested in when we were looking at that long list, whenever it came out. It was either last year or the year before. And this is about a Vietnamese family. So it says, one night, not long after the last American troops leave Vietnam, siblings An, Tan and Min flee their village and embark on a perilous boat journey to Hong Kong. Their parents and 4 younger siblings make the crossing in another vessel, but as weeks go by, it becomes clear that only one party has survived the voyage. They suddenly find themselves alone in the world without family or home. They travel on, navigating refugee camps and resettlement centres until, by a twist of fate, they arrive in Thatcher's Britain. There they must somehow build new lives with only each other to turn to. But will that be enough in a place that doesn't seem to want them? Sounds really good. And the other one I picked up was a copy of Women and Children by Tony Birch. This was on my wish list, so very happy to find a second-hand copy so I can take it off the wish list. But this one is, so I've never read anything by Tony Birch, but he's very highly spoken of. He's an Aboriginal Australian author. And the other book that I have of his on my TBR, and I have a copy of, is The White Girl. And then I think there's another one, might be called Father's Day or something like that. It's not on the back here. Do I have a list of all of his books in the front here? Yeah, Father's Day is the other one I have a copy of. So anyway, I do want to get to Tony Birch at some point, but this is one that I had heard of and was on my wish list. So it's set in 1965, and Joe Clooney is living in a working class suburb with his mum Marion and sister Ruby, spending his days trying to avoid trouble with the nuns at the local Catholic primary school. One evening, his auntie Una appears on the doorstep, distressed and needing somewhere to stay. As his mum and auntie work out what to do, Joe comes to understand the secrets that the women in his family carry, including on their bodies, yet their pleas for assistance are met with silence and complicity from all sides. Who will help Joe's family at their time of need? Sounds really heartbreaking, but sounds like a really good premise for a story. Okay, now the next bit of this holiday haul, excuse me while I just reorganize the books that I have sitting on this table. We went to a secondhand bookstore that we have never been to before, that was in the local area where we were staying, and it was absolutely fantastic. It was like the best, when you just find one of those country town secondhand stores and they've just priced everything really appropriately. The books were $1. They were so cheap. So subsequently I picked up things that I probably wouldn't have picked up if they hadn't been $1. You know what I mean? So there's a few things in here that I'm like, was this a good choice? Anyway, we'll see. So one of those things is I picked up books 2, 3 and 4 in the Tamora Pierce Song of the Lioness Quartet. They did not have the first one, but my thought was the first one is probably easy to get because, like, if you're starting a series, you would start with the first one. Anyway, so this is books 2, 3 and 4. So this is In the Hand of the Goddess, The Woman Who Rides Like a Man, and Lioness Rampant. I know these are beloved by people, so I was like, I'll pick them up. I'll see if I can get myself a copy of the first one. These are the 40th anniversary editions, and it's a fantasy series. I don't want to read anything from the back because obviously I don't have book 1, but yeah, tell me down in the comments if you've read this series and if you recommend it. I've heard good things about it, but I've never read it before. This stack is getting a bit wild. We might have to stop stacking here and stack elsewhere. Okay. Another one I picked up that I probably wouldn't have if it wasn't $1 is Elsewhere by Gabrielle Zevin, who is currently best known for Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which was everywhere a year or two ago. But this is one of her backlist titles that has been reissued since the success of Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Let me see when it was first published. So this one was first published in 2005, but this is a 2024 edition following on from that. So this is also, I think, a YA title. So it says, when 15-year-old Liz is killed in a car accident, she ends up in a place called Elsewhere. Here, death is only the start of your story. You can't get sick, and you can't get older. Instead, you age backwards till you become a newborn baby again. But Liz wants to turn 16, not 14. She wants to learn to drive and go to college. Strangely, though, Liz does find herself learning new skills and forging new relationships. Is it possible to grow up while getting younger? Sounds very interesting. But yeah, I probably wouldn't have picked that up other than it was $1. So we'll see if we get to it. And if it doesn't sort of feel... let me know if you've read it, if you think it's worth my time. Another book that I picked up, and this is actually one that I have had on my wish list for a really long time. Like, so long that I can't remember why I put it on the wish list, but again, it was $1. It's called The Birth of Venus by Cher Tan. No synopsis on the back. And we have no... oh no, there is, sorry. It's just hidden amongst all of the quotes from different things saying it's fantastic. Okay, it says, Alessandra Cecchi, I don't know how to say that surname, is not quite 15 when her father, a prosperous cloth merchant, brings a young painter back from Northern Europe to decorate the family chapel in their Florentine palazzo. A child of the Renaissance with a precocious mind and talent for drawing, Alessandra is intoxicated by his talent. As Medici Florence is threatened by the hellfire of the monk Savonarola, the painter and his dazzling art exert an ever more powerful and erotic pull. So that sounds like a very interesting historical fiction. One I was very, very excited to find was Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. Bargain. So this is one that I've heard lots of people say is absolutely fantastic. It's sort of a horror, but it's like it's not like a gory horror, I don't believe. I think it's more like a unsettling horror, which is the kind of horror that I can do. I can't do gory, it's not for me. But basically this story is, I believe that there's a couple, 2 women, one of them goes on a deep sea mission that ends in catastrophe, and I think initially they think that the people have died potentially, but she comes back, but something's off, and she can't quite put her finger on what is off. This is the wife, whatever happened to that in that vessel, whatever it was they were supposed to be studying before they were stranded on the ocean floor, Leah has carried part of it with her onto dry land and into their home. So yeah, that sounds interesting, and I'm keen to get to it at some point. This is another one I picked up because it was $1. I've seen this one about before. I think this is going to be like a cozy fiction, contemporary, called The Red Gum River Retreat by Sandy Docker, where healing the present can mend the past. Hope. Single mother Sarah is guilt-ridden when an accident leaves her young daughter Melody seriously injured and their once music-filled lives silent. When she discovers her grandmother Rosalie's war correspondence, she thinks she might have found a way to save her family, but it will require a leap of faith. In 1945, Rosalie is desperate to forge a career as a journalist, and taking photos for soldiers serving in the war might just lead to the job of her dreams. But when two brothers she's been corresponding with come home to Red Gum River, her life is turned upside down and she flees, vowing never to return. Decades on, the hope that a music retreat can help Melody lures the 3 generations of women to Red Gum River, where Sarah draws together the threads of Rosalie's past. A heartbreaking family mystery comes to light, and they discover that the ghosts of the past can lead them to their future, and they might all be more in tune than they first thought. And there are several books in this by this author that have very similar covers. I don't know if they're part of a series, but I have seen them banging about. So I believe this is an Australian author, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, she's also written The Kookaburra Creek Cafe. Yeah, that sounds Australian. The Kookaburra Creek Cafe, The Cottage at Rosella Cove, The Banksia Bay Beach Shack, and The Wattle Island Book Club. So I think it's kind of like cozy fiction. Then I was able to get a copy of Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. I have a couple of books by V.E. Schwab on my TBR, but I have never read anything by this author. Let me know if you have, and if you think this is the one to start with or one of her other ones. Her? There. I'm not sure what the gender of V.E. Schwab is. I should probably say there. So the other one that I have a copy of is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I've got a digital copy of. Is that the only other book? No, there's more. And I think I have Vicious, maybe. And that might be, and Gallant I have a copy of as well. So let me know of those ones which one I should start with. But this one is says on the back, 3 young women, their bodies planted in the same soil, their stories tangling like roots. This is a story about hunger. 1532, Santo Domingo de la Calzada. A young girl grows up wild and wily, and Maria knows she can only ever be a pawn in men's games. So when an alluring stranger offers an alternative path, Maria makes a desperate choice. This is a story about love. 1827, London. A young woman lives a cloistered life on her family's estate until a moment of forbidden intimacy sees her shipped off to London. Once there, a beautiful widow offers her freedom, but at what cost? This is a story about Rage, 2019, Boston. College was supposed to be a fresh start. That's why Alice moved halfway across the world. Then an out-of-character one-night stand leaves her questioning everything. Alice throws herself into the hunt for answers and revenge. This is a story about life, how it ends, and how it starts again. So sounds interesting. We'll see. And then the other one that I picked up and was excited to find was Cult Classic by Sloane Crosley. I've heard really good things about this one. It says, one night in New York City's Chinatown, Lola is at dinner with former colleagues when she excuses herself to buy a pack of cigarettes. On her way back, she runs into a former boyfriend, and another, and then another. The city has become awash with ghosts of heartbreaks past. What might have passed for coincidence becomes something far stranger when the recently engaged Lola must contend not only with the viability of her current relationship, but the fact that her best friend and her former boss, a magazine editor turned mystical guru, might have an unhealthy investment in its outcome. As memories of the past swirl and converge, Lola is forced to decide if she will surrender herself to the conspirings of one very contemporary cult. A smart, sharp, and hugely entertaining tale of luck and love, Cult Classic asks, is it possible to have a happy ending in an age when the past is ever at your fingertips and sanity is for sale? Sounds great. Okay, that's the end of the holiday haul. I have a couple of other books that I had picked up, a couple just before I went away, and then a couple that I picked up various places afterwards, little secondhand wanderings of mine. Oh dear, battery is about to die. Let's go through them, do quick fire. We got The Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker, which was shortlisted for the Women's Prize in 2019. We have a lovely little copy of Aesop's Fables. So yeah, excited to have that one. That one was $4. We've got Different Class by Joanne Harris. She's an auto-buy author for me, and I didn't have that one. This one looks really interesting. It's The Alternatives by Kaolin Hughes. Sorry, I'm sure I've said that wrong. We've got a Haruki Murakami. We've got Sputnik Sweetheart. And the last one just sounded really good. It's called Chilean Poet by Alejandro Zambra. So let me know if you've read any of these. Tell me what's good. What should I prioritise? Thanks for watching, guys. I better sign out real quick before my battery dies. See you on the next one. Bye.